This may not look like much, but this is my next loader tractor. Let's dig in. Yeah, you can see there ain't a whole lot left of this old girl. I got a radiator with it, a bunch of sheet metal, actually a couple of grills, a couple of hoods, a couple of tanks, all junk. So I'm going to have to come up with some solutions there. But there's a lot of good driveline parts here, and that's what I'm actually after. Is I need a good rear axle, transmission, and eventually this is going to get a different powertrain, a different hydraulic system, but I'm going to build this whole girl in stages. Mostly because I'm cheap, all right? Now, let's just be real. I'm trying to do this on a budget, and really this could be a learning experience. This could be an example for a lot of people to go off of. But I'm going to just document everything that I do along the way, how I arrive at some of the decisions that I make, and you're free to do. Well, of course, don't follow any of this as any kind of example because I'm just doing whatever makes sense to me at the moment. So if it's wrong, if it doesn't make any sense to anybody else, if it breaks, that's on you. That's somebody else's problem. What happens on this farm stays on this farm. So I'm going to build this into a loader tractor. But as you can see, this is in pretty rough shape. This motor is junk. We're missing the number 3 liner entirely. The number 2 here is full of debris. And 1 and 4 are stuck at top dead center. It kind of looks like the number 4 piston even has a nice crack in it there. So I'm going to wet that down a little bit. But the shmoo from number 2, yeah, she's in rough shape. But I'm not even going to use this motor. This is going to the local scrapyard. Unfortunately, it's just not... It could be saved. It really could, but it's been welded. There's really no good reason to save this. There are so many Model Bs and Cs out there. This is even a post-war model. It's not anything special, all right? This block is going to scrap. The lower radiator hose is, well, that's all right. All that's going to junk. It's kind of unfortunate the steering system here works actually better. It's a little looser than my 43C. It could be because there's a little less weight. There's no cylinder head on this motor, but man, this thing turns kind of easy. I won't be using most of that, unfortunately, I don't think. I mean, we'll see, but the big thing is going to be getting this right side rear wheel. Soon to be the left side front wheel. It's going to be a reverse tractor. But getting that thing freed up because the brake here is a little stuck. And as a result, she's stuck. So that's what we're going to dig into first. So this is a 1947, according to the serial number. What was it? I'll read this. 49655. What's left of it anyway, the 1947 Allis Model C. And that's going to become my loader tractor. I bought this as parts 5 or 6 years ago now, mostly for the belly mower. It's the only thing I really wanted from it. The belly mower and a plow. I used that. I fixed that plow up and put it on the C that I already, the 43C that I already had. Video. But this model, this guy is getting ready to become my loader tractor. I have visions of, you might have seen some of the swaps that people have done on the internet where they've flipped these axle housings over. Picture. But I'm gonna turn these. I measured it. They're roughly 6 1/4 inches on center. All 4. It's a square pattern. It looks like. So I'm gonna turn this 90 degrees. Lower it a little bit, get that center of gravity a little bit lower. Now, just being real here, it's been a hot minute since I've posted anything to YouTube. And I'm going to be honest here, that's because, well, one, I didn't really think that I had much that was really worth showing everybody, because I spent a lot of time just doing the same old stuff, fixing doing oil changes and keeping the Super Duty running, and just there's not a whole lot that's interesting. It's all been covered. And it seems like if you have the right personality, that you can cover it 3,000 times and people are going to keep watching the same thing over and over. The algorithm even kind of rewards that, it seems like sometimes. But I'm not about putting out content that's not worth your time. So I do appreciate that you've taken the time to watch this far already. I inexplicable maybe. I just it's kind of not that interesting, but maybe it is. Maybe you enjoy this. That's great. That's fantastic. I've honestly been a little bit worried because there's, especially with artificial intelligence coming around as much as it is, I can see the power of being able to understand all the things that I have, all the capabilities that I have, and just even all the tools that I have, right? How easy it is to use this data to probably figure your way in here and steal all the stuff that I have, which would suck. But I've also not really invested all that much money into all the tools that I have that you could at least walk off with. Like, good luck walking off with that lathe, right? That's at least 6,000 pounds. You're not just going to throw that into the back of a pickup truck. And that's not to say that I'm naive enough to believe that there's not a bunch of valuable tools here that are worth stealing. But I feel like the probability is maybe low at this point. The content that I've already put out probably shares enough that if you really wanted to figure out what I have, how to get in here, blah blah blah, probably, yeah. I've got plenty of security features for that, including livestock guardians. So if you want to take that chance, that's on you. I do happen to live in Indiana, which is one of the Castle Doctrine states. Remember that. But for all the honest people that are actually watching this, not computers watching this, I'm back, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. I'm putting out some videos on this loader tractor. It's going to be a series, probably. I'm going to be honest. It's going to take a while to build this old girl up, especially considering the stages that I'm going to be building it in. But I'm even on stage 1, which is just use the Allis B motor, which bolts up to the Allis C power tube and transmission. Use a hydraulic pump that I have, a loader that I have, and all parts that basically stuff that I already have lying around here. That's kind of the point of this video, is do what I can with what I have. And that's what I intend to do here. So I'm just going to quit jawing and get after it. Now, I've got to say, farmer fixes are some of the most interesting things that I come across frequently. This side is more factory oriented. It is stuck. This is the stuck side. But it has the cam here for the park brake. Factory cotter pin. Well, I don't know if it's factory, but it's at least a damn cotter pin. But on this side, we have some baler wires shoved through the hole for the cotter pin. The park brake cam is nowhere to be found. I've had this tractor for I don't know how many years, and I didn't even know that wasn't there. But, yeah. Works, I guess. Hit a snag here. These old drawbar mounts. See how that's moving, but the pin isn't? It's alright. Some old 60-10 rods will fix that. And then you always follow the 60-10 rod with PB Blaster. Jessica's number is 513-724-RCBL. That's Yeah, these are kind of famous for this too. The like, because you know, there's mice can even fit through that size of hole. The one on the front, yeah, and make a nice house in there. Hello again. Time for a small update on the loader tractor situation here. I got this old C kind of rearranged and flipped around. What I've done here is flip these axle housings. You gotta love these. Flip these 90 degrees so that I've lowered it by, I mean, I've seen these on the internet, how people have lowered them all the way down, but I've only gone halfway there just because I kind of want to put the center of gravity forward of this axle, and I want to lower it just kind of enough, but still have a good bit of ground clearance. I've also flipped the ring gear and differential assembly in there. That was pretty easy under the axle housings. There's a couple of bearing race holders there that popped out, and you just pull that assembly out of there, flip it around, stick it back in. So now I should have all the same gears in the reverse operation. Decided to put the brake levers up, so I should be able to use those pretty nicely. And now the front axle. This is an interesting piece. I've taken the twin I-beams out of that 66 and welded those together, because they are the I-beams themselves are okay, but the trailing arms there, look at these were kind of unsafe at this point. Let's look at the other one. Look how worn thin that is. Yeah, so I mean, those are valueless, and that kind of means the I-beams themselves are valueless, so I've just gone ahead and welded them together. I'm not going to pretend these are really good welds, so I'm not going to get very close to them, but I've also added this sort of a hinge that I'm building so that, you know, this can articulate like it needs to be able to have all fours on the ground pretty much at all times. So that's about where I am. Yeah, these welds, by the way, I've been learning my new welder over there. And man, I love that thing. It runs great. But what doesn't run great is these old red 6010 rods I've been playing with. That can is older than I am, and it's been open for the last 10 of those years. And yeah, they kind of spatter a good bit. They definitely want to throw the pool around on you. So, but I've still been doing all right with them. I definitely am confident in these welds. They're going to hold up just fine. So yeah, I think we'll come back with another update when I get a little more done here. Yep, I think that ought to work right about like that. That seems pretty good for me to talk over the copyright stuff so that I don't have, you know, a copyright strike or whatever, eh? I'm under no illusion that I'm, you know, a good welder, but I mean, that ought to do it. I'll go ahead and call it out. Kind of a ton of undercut. I'm still running too hot, but I mean, it ought to work. Okay, we're back on the lowered C here. I have gotten done with my Hillbilly Forge work on this member that's going to connect these two control arms. It's going to bolt up right about there, right where the factory one does, to the bell housing on the B model tractors. And then these control arms are, of course, from the twin I-beam suspension. They've been trimmed down a little bit. I need to do a little more cleanup. And then they'll be ready to weld to this member, because this whole thing is going to be, you know, still welded solid. And that is going to let me move on to steering. Okay, I've cut up the old tie rod from the twin I-beam suspension, and because it has to be a solid length, right? You know, this is going to go to a pitman arm where the hub is going to get a bell crank that we're going to show you here after a bit. But as you can see, I'm going for the big old bevel, McBevel 9000. Make sure this is going to hold together. Totally unnecessary. I'm sure it would I could have even not put a chamfer on it at all, and it probably would be fine. But I'm just gonna kind of hold it here. It doesn't make no never mind how straight it is. So, or let me within reason. So, get that stitched up. Okay, this here's the next piece of the puzzle. Actually, the next few pieces, I think, because I'm not going to use it the way that it is for certain. There's going to be a lot of cutting and welding come to this, but I guess another couple of pieces, though. The hydraulic pump, I wasn't banking on that. Actually, it's free, so I suppose it probably works. It spins. I wasn't banking on that. This is just some Facebook Marketplace find, because I figured I may as well, even if I just got the material from the frame, I might still use the other loader. I got to do some measurements first, but even just the material for the frame, I was thinking, if I cut it up and use it as just stock, was still going to be a good bit cheaper than buying this as steel. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Well, it's New Year's Eve, and I'm doing the same thing every redneck is doing. I'm working on an old tractor, right? Well, if that's not what you all are doing, who do you think's having more fun? Who do you think's going to feel better tomorrow? Oakley dokley, folklies, I'm going to end this video here, actually, because I think it's going to be a few weeks before I'm back on this one. We're supposed to have zeros and tens and whatnot, and this whole shed is not insulated. You can see it's basically falling down. It's pretty drafty, so the best I can do with the wood stove is put 20 degrees on top of the outside temperature. But the juice just didn't work. I mean, you could work in those kind of temperatures, but the juice isn't worth the squeeze for me. So I'm just gonna hunker down and find stuff to do in the house for a couple of weeks. But here's where we are so far. Got the loader frame adapted and mounted. Got some spectabulous welding. I'm only gonna zoom in on the ones that that aren't awful. But it's gonna hold up. If you can't weld good, weld a lot. So I've got that all mounted and pretty much ready to go, ready to add hydraulics, and a motor, of course. This one isn't going to be much of a runner, but I think it is going to make some good dead weight for the counter end. I would say the back end. Well, I guess this is the back end now, but I'll just call it the counter end for clarity's sake. It'll be a good counterweight for that, and I'll replace it with that one sitting right over there. It's a runner, it's good. And then I'll start fabricating the hydraulic setup. So just a little preview of what's next is I've got this kind of big frame fabbed up to help support the counter end of the loader, right? I'm going to keep calling it the counter end. It's the front now, I guess. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm thinking about like a U-joint or a CV joint here, something like that. Just because I don't really know that I can confidently find the center of that axis and keep it, parallel. I don't want to induce any stresses on that front main bearing. So I think what I want to do is come off of there, have a hydraulic pump mounted somewhere about here, and then one of my hallmarks is going to be I still want to be able to crank start it. So I think I'm gonna do a B-sized V-belt, a single B, or maybe a double A, or maybe even a double B. I need to go do the math yet. I guess that's something I can do while I'm, cooped up in the house. But I want to come off of this shaft here. I still need to keep this belt or something like it for the fan and the water pump and the alternator. But come off of there, drive the hydraulic pump, put it on basically a clutching drive, I think, so that I can disengage it. Because one of my hallmarks here, like I said, is I still want to be able to hand start it. Of course, it's going to have the electric starter. It's got the port for it there and everything. And I'll find somewhere to put a battery and all that good stuff. But I want to be able to hand start it still. I think that's unique in a repurposed loader tractor. And my whole stick on this thing is I'm building it the way the old timers would have. And I think the old timers would have made it still be able to crank start, because they understand, like I do, that sometimes batteries are dead. Sometimes you just got to get the thing started. Sometimes it's handy to be able to just bar it over a little bit. So I'm going to keep that functionality. I'm going to design it in. So I think that's all for now on this one. We'll come back probably, it might be another month before there's another video on this one. But it's coming along, building it the way the old timers would have.